All right, time for some player ratings. Always tough to do after a game where one team has 10 and the other has 11, but we'll do it anyway as the U.S. Falls 2-1 against Panama in Atlanta. We'll start at the back. We thought there'd only be one goalie to rate. However, there are two, I guess, Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath. Kasey, what are you doing with your goalie rating here?
I mean, Matt didn't have much to do, to be honest. So I gave him a 6 just simply because there wasn't much to do. Couldn't do really anything on the goal. A little unfortunate through the legs, kind of squirts into the corner. I was kind of saying that kind of my age of goalkeeping, you were so used to getting crushed by a striker coming in and hitting you that you learned how to defend yourself a little bit better. And I would have had a very well-placed knee on that Panamanian player coming into me, to the point where I don't think he would have actually come in if he had known what was potentially waiting.
You trained with Kasey, Herc. You ever run into one of those challenges?
Oh, no, because he wouldn't have come in.
He knew. Keeper yells, keep him. It's all yours. Yeah. It's all yours.
So unfortunately, he gets hit. He has to come off at halftime, and then, Ethan never looked comfortable. And I don't think there's so difficult coming in that scenario. Yeah. Yes, you prefer to have some time at halftime to get into it a little bit, which I'm sure Ethan was out to be able to do that. But I gave Ethan a 5 because the first shot that came at him, I don't think was handled the way he would have liked. And then I'm not blaming him for the goal at all, but, I think as a goalkeeper, you have, should have, could have, and definitely made a mistake on that. To me, it's one of those could haves. Yeah. I think he could have come up with that save.
He got a lot of hand to it.
Yeah,
or a lot of two hands to it.
I'm not blaming him because it's point blank. It's a good finish, whatever. But it's one of those as a goalkeeper that you look back and go, yeah, I could have made that.
And that's so important for the team. I'm sure, Ali, you know this. When you look back there and the keeper's on one, you're like, oh, okay. It just gives you confidence. But the keeper's nervy. It makes you anxious. It makes you come into a shell.
Oh, and the other side of that is when you have a goalie change in the middle of the game. I mean, I can't imagine for a defender what that's like.
Yeah, it's difficult, but you want to, instill confidence immediately because you need them to play well. And then so you just encourage as much as you can. But they should feel confident because now they have an opportunity to showcase. And now they have an opportunity to step in and roll their sleeves up and get after it.
Ethan had proved in the past that he was able to come in and make a big difference in that game. And it just didn't happen.
I got to think if Matt Turner's coming off in a major international tournament, it's a serious injury.
You would assume so.
And one that he might not be able to continue either in this tournament or certainly not in the next game. What's your level of confidence moving forward with Horvath if
I
don't
want to speculate on something that I know nothing.
No, I'm not asking you to speculate on the injury, but I'm saying there's a chance it's Horvath in the next game. If it is, what's your level of confidence?
Well, obviously, starting a game is significantly different as a goalkeeper than coming in as a...
Is there a big drop between Horvath and Turner in your mind?
I don't know about a big drop.
Okay.
But there's a reason why one's number 1 and one's number 2 right now. Ethan has consistently, found ways to go on loan and get some games in and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it was pretty clear that Matt was the number 1, even without having much game time, particularly in the second half of the season last year.
All right, so a 6 for Matt Turner, a 5 for Ethan Horvath. That's their Kasey's goalie ratings against Panama. Let's get to the back line. Ali, why don't you walk us through your ratings of Scally, Richards, Ream, and Robinson? I guess CCB, too. He got subbed in late there as well.
Yeah, I'll go right to left. So Scally, I gave him a 6. He had a few back post struggles, as we saw, but I know that was tough because they went down to 10, and Gio Reyna might not have gotten back on defense to help him as much or as often as he needed. So in those situations, you just have to constantly keep your head on a swivel and see the player and see the ball. But he did have a great ball into Balogun. Unfortunately, that was the offsides. But, he was getting up a little bit as much as he could, especially in the attack when they went to the wing backs. And did his job defensively. The first half, I felt like there were a lot of, crosses and availability to cross the ball on his side. So I think just getting a little bit tighter, preventing that space would be more important for the next game. Ream, I just said 6. He did his job, but I think there was a bit of confusion on the goal with him and Richards. And I think defensively, I was yelling step to myself, like in the green room often, just to get the lineup a little bit higher. So I think when you have a player like that in that position in the spine of your team, he just has to be a little bit more communicative, a little bit more confident in telling the line, keeping them compact, and hoping that stays consistent. So he was for me. Richards, I felt like a 7 because he did create those chances on the headers on Weston McKennie's goal that got called back, but and then the late chance opportunity in the second half, but needed to stay, I think, touch tight a little bit more. Dove in for a few defensive moments and tackles, and so I think if they just keep their feet like Vickers should have done in his tackle, I think that would have been a higher score for me. And then I might have to, battle Herculez' number for Robinson, but I think Anthony is a player that was super active. He was probably the best player for the U.S., even though he did make a few mistakes, but he wanted to get on the ball. He wanted to create opportunities in the attack, and he was getting forward and crossing it in as much and as often as he had the opportunities to do. And then he had the assist. I said he was an 8. And he added the assist on Balogun's strike. Like, they had that little combination play, a little touch. So I gave him that. And the contact and speed of his defending, the timing was really good.
All right, so she gave Jedi an 8. I know you didn't see it that way.
No, not at all. Yeah, he may have had the assist, but my Kaifer room table could have had that assist. I think it was more circumstantial.
Well, it was a little back heel. There was a little magic there. It was a little magic. He made to run into the area. To her point, he was active. He was the left back. He was in the area. He was the one driving into the area.
Maybe he's a victim of his own success because how good he's been.
Right. He's a guy you count on.
He's a guy you count on, and he wasn't sharp today, particularly with the ball at his feet, trying to get out the back. And listen, I revert to 10 men and how difficult it is to play as one of those 10 men. I've been there. It's a hell of a ride, an hour through. I mean, I wish it upon nobody. And certainly that didn't ease his evening. But for what Anthony Robinson is, if you were to tell me the U.S. men's national would have been 10 men and they had a fight, they had a claw, they had to dig their way out of something, I would have pegged him to be one of the players that would have been a protagonist in that action.
You know who struggles when it's 10 versus 11? Usually the midfielders, because they got a lot more running to do. It's my job, since noted Venezuelan midfielder Ale Moreno is not with us. He's headed east to be on the ESPN FC set. I got to do the midfield ratings here. I'll go with the starters: Adams, Reyna, McKennie. I will go Adams 4, Reyna 4, McKennie 6. Adams and Reyna's 4 kind of, for me, come down to the fact they only play 45 minutes. And some of that is not on them. Some of that is on Tim Weah, and some of that is on Greg Berhalter. But I think Adams, even after the red card, for a guy who we talk about as a leader and as a player who doesn't make bad decisions, there's one moment where he's trying to run almost like a fast break the other way, a man down.
Dragon.
And he just makes a really irresponsible decision, and Panama suddenly has like a 4-on-3 coming the other way. And I just think that player in that moment, considering he's getting a start, even though we know we got to sub him off, he's got to be worth that risk. And if he's taking that risk in that moment, a man down, to me, that was a bad mistake. Gio Reyna, again, not the guy you want on, especially when you're down a player in midfield. And I thought Weston McKennie, actually, given his performance in the first game, I think we have a little bit different scale. Samia 6 is pretty good. Especially at the end of the game, I think he was doing things at both the offensive end and at the defensive end that we might not have thought, based on the energy levels we were seeing from McKennie over the last 3-4 games, that he would be able to give us. He made a great defensive play with about 5 minutes to go in the game, sweeping one man out of the box. He was involved in the attack as well, trying to kind of create something down there. So McKennie, of the 3 midfielders that starts the game, and really the only one that lasts to the second half, he gets a 6. The other 2 get a 4, mostly because they weren't really the guys to do the job today once the U.S. goes down a man.
What did you give Johnny Cardozo? I'm just curious.
I'd have given him a 5. I mean, I'd have given him a 5, an average performance, especially, again, like, what
difficult to come in like
and
that.
What are you asking of that guy? You're literally asking that player to cover ground. I'm not an analytics expert. I don't know how much ground he covered.
I'm thinking about what Greg Berhalter asked him.
I didn't see Cardozo make too many big mistakes.
Well, when they go through a 3 center back, I'm thinking at one point it's Anthony Robinson and Joe Scally, who are both in the offensive end, taking their chances at the same time. So I'm thinking he's telling Cardozo, you sit, and it becomes a back 4 with those back 3. It was nervy. It was nervy.
But what I wanted to see from Johnny when he came in was win a challenge and find an outlet pass. And I didn't see it enough.
Is there any dude in the pool that can do that really?
Well, but I didn't see it from anybody, and that's particularly as a man down. You know, Panama's going to be taking chances. They're going to be running at you a little
really
bit.
Is Tyler that guy?
To win a challenge and
No. To show for the ball, hold the ball, turn, and play it forward.
Oh, that's actually Musa, who you were asking for. Musa's a great connection between the boxes. It's just maybe you need a player there to hold the ball because they desperately needed to breathe. They desperately needed an outlet. But he's not exactly the player that's going to roll up his sleeves and get defensive.
But I wanted to see the ball winner first.
Correct.
And I didn't see enough of that either. And so I think that was a little worrying. I think it particularly if you were going to clog the midfield with 5, I needed to see a few more balls being won, and then that way you could find a Pulisic out wide. You only saw it once or twice, and I needed to see it a couple more times.
All right, let's get to the front line. Herc, as the resident striker here, give us a grade for Pulisic, Balogun, and Weah.
Yeah, I'll go left to right here. Christian Pulisic, for me, this is a game. I gave him a 6. This is a game when once the red card hits, all that goes out the window. When Christian Pulisic does so well, you're kind of asking him to do different things, you know? So I thought he did well enough, given the circumstances of fighting, of holding the ball, of trying to be an outlet, trying to be a threat with his speed and his dribbling in between spaces, but there weren't very many chances, and I thought he did very well absorbing punishment. He got punished a lot in this game. I gave him a 6. Following Balogun, who I've been asking to step up when it comes to goals, an 8. He scored an absolute worldie with the left foot, an absolute banger, and everything you could ask of a 9 in this game, given the circumstances, he did. He was really that good, offering himself as a 9 back to goal, fighting, defending, pressuring, being an outlet with his speed. Almost got on the end of one in the second half that he whipped across. He was very, very good. This was almost his coming out party. It's unfortunate that it happened under these circumstances. And then when it comes to Timothy Weah, a -1, because you didn't help your team. You actually hurt your team. There was not one positive thing you did in this game. It was the opposite. And it hurts me to say, because Timothy Weah is probably one of the guys I think is most likable on this team to his teammates. And so out of character for him. And I don't want to be overly harsh, overly critical, but we did the same thing with Serginho Dest.
Yeah, we did.
Hammered Serginho Dest. This is worse. This is a Copa America.
No, the only reason why it's not worse, Herc, sorry.
It's going to cost you the Copa America.
Well, yes, but it's not worse because what Serginho did was it continued. It was the yellow card that continued, and his teammates were trying to stop him, and then it continued, and then it continued.
But you have the benefit of seeing that and the impact that had.
100%.
Timothy Weah has to be so much smarter here, and I'm sure he will learn for it. But today, he cost his team.
Yeah, and no doubt about it, the stakes here, a potential group phase exit now for the United States is what we're talking about in Copa America.